Well, this new Jack Reacher show certainly took me a lot of time in regard to getting around to covering it. It wasn't just based on schedule either. When I explain the approach I took, I'm sure it'll probably be very understanding as to why it took me so long. But I'm familiar with the Jack Reacher name, largely because, and even though I haven't seen the movies, I do own both copies, though. I've never gotten around to watching them. I have heard of the Jack Reacher name for the Tom Cruise films. But I didn't realize it was based on a book series. But I had heard about this Amazon show very recently, in particular because the series seems to be doing very well amongst Amazon viewers. And so I'm like, okay, I'll maybe look into covering it. But then I found out it was based on a book. I throw around this approach, and I've mentioned this before in other videos, I throw around the angle of, what approach I want to take in regard to covering adaptations. Sometimes I prefer to cover the preceding work that the subsequent work is adapted from, or perhaps I do the reversal. Let's say, for example, Hillbilly Elegy. I read the book first in preparation to covering the series, or the movie. I haven't watched it yet, but I read the book first in preparation of covering it to get an understanding, again, of the author's story. Versus, let's say, Dune is a much different story. Dune, I went into the theaters, before reading the book. I still haven't read the book, but that was my first introduction rather than reading the literary material it was based on. Dune was my first adaptation experience in that case. So I differ quite a bit. With Reacher, I'm like, okay, what approach do I take? And I decided pretty quickly on the book, in part because of the terminal list, because I listened to the audiobook for this, but the terminal list I wanted to listen to first. I've since started work on that. It's an excellent piece of writing. But the terminal list, because I guess, that series has also debuted very well for Amazon. Another successful hit. They need that. I think it's going to fill in the void that Lord of the Rings is going to produce, on a side note. But the terminal list, I had to wait on hold for about 8 weeks. So I'm like, okay, what can I listen to in the meantime? Well, I never got around to covering Reacher, and there's this book series it's based on. Maybe I should start listening to it. So I began with The Killing Floor, book number 1, which, as I understand, this series, or this first season is based on that book. I know for the second season, because at this point it's been renewed, we're jumping, I think, to book 11, last I checked. I don't remember if that was in chronology or release date, because I understand the author, Lee Child, has thrown around his approach in regard to prequels versus subsequent works off of Killing Floor. But it's an excellent action thriller, in my opinion. I will say I kind of like the terminal list a bit more, just slightly. But I thought Jack Reacher, is a pretty interesting character, pretty dynamic one. I liked, the camaraderie he had of the other characters in the story, Finley. I'm excited to see these characters materialize in a series, because I thought the book had a lot of atmosphere in its illustration. I thought it was a very sentimental piece in parts, too, like with the Rosie bit. That was pretty sweet. The ending, it was definitely sad between two characters. I'm like, oh no, I wanted you guys to continue on. There's a lot invested in this relationship. But I did feel it was a pretty fun, action thriller series. And I'm excited to see, the show's take on it. I mean, again, Amazon has some promising, work. Certainly the terminal list has gained a lot of reverence, but Reacher has too. I'm surprised though, but again, maybe it hasn't gotten more attention, because Amazon's YouTube channel features like a lot of clips for the show, but I can only find one trailer. So to best gauge my interest for the show, it's going to be, limited here with one trailer, but maybe, based on my overall impression with the book, and because of all the feedback I've heard about the Reacher series, I believe this series, again, from what I've heard, is very faithful in spirit to the book. Even though I did come across, apparently this series takes some deviations in some points, which, no literary adaptation when, translating to the screen is going to be perfect medium. No translation, between mediums really even is. But, some come close, but we'll see how the show fares. Again, I've heard good regard to it. I've certainly done my work in regard to doing my homework. Let's take a look and watch the series, at least for a first impression. Perhaps you haven't even looked at this series yet. Let's see it.
You boys know what's about to happen to you. You leave now.
Strong male lead, by the way. I've never seen this guy before, but his image is certainly very imposing. But he's got a charm to him. I can even tell this based on the poster.
To see, so tired army.
Bronze Star, Silver Star, and a Purple Heart.
What in the name does a guy like that doing in Margrave?
What's a guy like that doing in jail? Zip ties?
Drugs didn't fit him.
You guys recycle.
7 bodies since you set foot in
I like him already. Good character.
I was arrested for murder. Now you want my help? I want you to do what I say.
I'm guessing this is
Whatever
Finley.
you want, whenever you want.
Everyone's always jealous. I'm gonna uncover this whole operation and burn it to the ground.
You boys knew what's about to happen to you. You leave now.
Don't go getting yourself arrested for murder.
Strong scene, definitely delivering off of the book.
Lightning. Bullets were 95 grain. That's subsonic. This wasn't a first timer.
These people are connected and stone cold killers.
So be smart. Don't break the law. And promise me you won't end up in another holding cell.
No.
Looking for payback?
Payback, justice, vengeance. Looking for the whole gang.
You're gonna kill a whole lot.
It's very entertaining.
Already started.
Even if the trailer, I'll definitely say it's softer in style. Even amidst all the punches to the face.
Three drunk kids.
There's 4 of us.
One of you's got to drive to the hospital.
The music gives a unique dimension, but it's good. I really feel like it's got that small town approach, but it's fun.
Show off.
I'm assuming that's Rosie, just based on how prominent she is in the trailer. I will say, you know, it's funny when you read a book and it's like your imagination is so different from what you imagine the characters to be. Finley, to me, I'm assuming this is Finley, appeared a bit older. And Rosie, I would say, was sort of along the lines in appearance of like Annie Potts. I don't know why I thought of that image. Well, maybe somebody at least a bit older. And more of like, again, I forget, was it like Georgia where this took place, or at least in the city where I forget, Musgrave or whatever the town was. Again, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting confused in part because I'm listening to the Terminal List now, and so it's like, okay, now I moved on to another series and another vision, so some of the details are getting lost on me, but I don't know. I like the charm and feel of the show. The lead here, I've, again, never seen this actor before, but he's a great presence. Certain scenes for me definitely evoke the energy of the album. The camaraderie between the characters, especially with him and Rosie, that fits. This jail scene, I believe, I think this is one, at least in the introduction to Killing Floor. That's pulled right out of the book. Everything looks beautifully articulated. I like the style to it. It seems like a very endearing show. And from what I've heard, fans have responded to this show as such. Looks good. What were your thoughts? Now, again, like I said, I'm covering this late. So for those of you who've gotten around to watching the show, and maybe you took a similar, maybe you know, this is the first impression to you, like, I've never seen anything Jack Reacher related. Now, ideally, perhaps I would have watched the films as well in preparation to covering this to gain maybe another perspective, at least the cinematic history of Reacher. I just didn't get around to it yet. I'll probably try and watch those at some point, but I did read the book. So for those of you who perhaps are taking my approach, what do you think of the show, right? Maybe you read the book in advance of considering watching this. What is your first impression, you know, gauging this trailer and being like, okay, maybe do I want to see this adaptation? For those of you who have seen this series, no spoilers, please. If there's any like big changes, I know, again, this is following the book, but I know there are some points of deviation. What do you think? Did you think the show delivered on the promise, at least that Killing Floor delivered on in terms of being a strong action thriller? Let me know what your thoughts are down below on it. I think it looks good. I think it's got a very unique direction. The cast is quite charismatic. It's going to be fun to see the story illustrated perhaps outside of what I pictured in my mind. It's a bit different in parts, notably the casting, but I like it. It's fine. Much younger cast, but that's fine. Everybody seems to be pulling their A-game in. I've heard, again, as much reverence to the show. I can't wait to try it out for myself. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.